Welcome back, everyone. We are at our next installment of the Pages Promotions Virtual Book Festival, Autumn 2020. This is a production of Indie Reads TV from Pages Promotions. We find our home at CNM TV in Troy, Michigan. We're very grateful to them to give us this platform to share with you all the wonderful books and authors that we bring this month. Today, we're bringing to you Barbara Mahase Rodman. We have a special situation with Barbara's book today because reading it for her posthumously is her grandson, David. Hi, David, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for reaching out and sharing your grandmother's work with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your grandmother's backstory, just a little bit of her history?
Sure, yeah. So my family and I, we were reading my great-grandmother's autobiography a few years ago and realized that there was a typo in the back saying that Barbara had published 2 books. One is this Love Stories for All Centuries that I have here because her lovely photos on the back. And then the other one was this, which I'm going to be reading from, Olas Grandes. But Olas Grandes was still in manuscript form when we found it a couple years ago and had not been published. And so we went ahead and, with Barbara's permission, edited and independently published this book, actually 12 days before she passed. So she did get to read, between my mom and I think we got to read out loud her 6 chapters before she passed. So
that's
it was really,
extraordinary.
Yeah, exceptional timing. And it was really powerful to have her holding the book.
Absolutely. How wonderful. What a great gift for you to give her. And a great gift and legacy for your family as well.
Yeah, and such a gift that she gave us. I mean, there's not only this manuscript, but for all the people out there that are interested in her writing, there are several more manuscripts that are I've got locked away in my chest here in the closet. So
extraordinary.
Those later as well.
Can you give us a little bit of synopsis or an overview of the book that you're going to read from today?
Yeah, I thought that I could just read the quick synopsis on the back.
That would be fun.
So on the island of Trinidad, which is where Barbara was born, a young woman, Rena Martinez, is invited to become a live-in teacher at Olas Grandes, a mansion perched atop sharp cliffs facing the sea. From the first mention of the house's name, Rena remembers reading in the papers about the tragedy that occurred there. The mistress of the house, Wanda Perron, had mysteriously drowned in a cove below the cliffs. Rena's curiosity is not satisfied with the story, and she becomes increasingly curious when she finds Wanda's magical diaries, where she discovers untold secrets about the household, including how deeply the mistress was involved in the practice of witchcraft. What is revealed when Rena wades through the magic and mystery that surrounds Olas Grandes not only implicates her, but also her deepening love for the head of household, Brian Perron.
Extraordinary. I'm hooked already. All right.
Join the meeting.
If you could go ahead and do your quick reading for us, and then at the end, we will probably have some time for some questions and comments from our audience. So whenever you're ready, David, please share your grandmother's work with us.
Great. So for anybody who has a paperback copy and wants to follow along, I'm on page 30. And anyone who has an ebook or PDF, I'm about, I'd say, two or three paragraphs into chapter 4. And the only thing that you need to know that you might not know, one of the words that comes up in this section I'm going to be reading is parang. And parang is a style of Venezuelan and Colombian music, which the migrants who came to Trinidad and Tobago brought with them. And so around Christmas,
join the meeting.
Parang is sang and played on really beautiful wooden string instruments. So here we go. There were still a few days until Christmas, and I wanted to hide Davy's present, but not in my room where he might stumble upon it. I asked Portia where a good place might be, and she suggested that I use the den under the kitchen. This room was built into the cliff and was used for storage. She gave me the key, and I went down the back stairs with my shopping bag full of gifts to the door built into the face of the cliff. The den was a small rectangular room, and when I turned on the light, I realized that it was rarely used and hadn't been cleaned in a long time. It had a musty smell. Cobwebs hung in all the corners, and patches of the concrete floor were covered with sand. I walked over to one of the cupboards and opened it to put my presents inside. To my surprise, the cupboard shelves were full. Rows of colored candles and matches lined the shelves. There were candles of red, blue, green, and black. Some of the candles were new, but many were used. As I pushed the presents into the corner of the cupboard, something hidden in the dark blocked the way. My hand closed over something hard to the touch. When I brought it into the light, I saw that it was a wax doll, exquisitely carved. Looking into the face of the doll, I had the feeling that I had seen her somewhere before. A chill ran through my body when I realized that the doll looked familiar because it was a perfect image of Lisa. In my horror, I dropped the doll into the hard concrete, and it cracked into several pieces. Frightened by the sound echoing loudly against the rocks, I stumbled from the room, tried not to think of the doll's face, the way it was chiseled just like Lisa's, but it was the only thing on my mind as I locked the door behind me. I found Portia the next day on the deck shelling peas. I joined her and told her what I had found in the den, but she wasn't surprised and told me that everyone in the house knew that Wanda was dabbling in witchcraft, which everyone in the house thought was a joke. Sometime after Wanda's death, I found her things in the den. I told the others about it, but no one really cared. Brian did say that Ma Becky wasn't welcome here, but the truth is, I never had to tell her. She just stopped coming. Now that I think about it, my arthritis pain stopped completely after Wanda told me she would try to get Ma Becky to help me. For all I know, it was Wanda herself that did something. Portia stopped shelling briefly and looked at me grinning and continued. And it's true that while Wanda was alive, Lisa never managed to get Larry for a husband. You don't really believe in magic, do you? Anything is possible at Olas Grandes, Rena. That night when I went to bed, there was a triangular note propped up on my night table. Scrawled in red marker were the words, "Leave well enough alone." Shivering, I tried to sleep but could not. Noticing that my door was still ajar, I hurried to lock it, but when I heard voices down the hall raised an argument, there was Brian's voice, too low and inaudible to hear, but I heard Lisa clearly. "I have to get out of this house. I can't wait to get to Galera House. Nothing better come in the way of that. Do you hear? If that girl meddles any more." But then I could only hear Lisa's footsteps as they trailed off toward her room. How am I doing on time, Deanna?
Keep going.
Okay. Christmas Eve dawned cool and clear. The dewdrops still lingered on the bushes, awaiting the blistering sun which would thirstily devour them. The magical spirit of Christmas descended on Olas Grandes, and no one in the house was exempt from its touch. Lisa even smiled with me as she discussed dinner. The poinsettias in the garden and all along the front of the house blazed in a riotous red, and it seemed as though the immortelles were decked out in scarlet just for Christmas. Davy was excited and kept asking when Christmas morning would come so he could tear open his gifts. Portia was bustling around and Brian was wandering in and out of the living room where Lisa and I were setting up a real Scotch pine imported from the United States. Brian tried to help but kept getting in the way. So he took Davy outside to watch Jack and Paul prepare the freshly slaughtered goat for dinner. That night, Larry arrived, his arms laden with gaily wrapped presents, and made straight for the tree. Dinner was a delicious meal of goat meat and rice, stuffed turkey, and many other delicacies. While we waited for the parang singers to arrive, we sat on the deck and made pleasant small talk. Possibly the first conversations I had at Olas Grandes, not burdened by intrigue or mystery. When the serenaders arrived, we went to the front veranda and listened to the lively Spanish ditties. Brian stood next to me, and I became much more aware of him at my side than the music. I would glance over at him and his eyes, which seemed familiar, inviting, their darkness alluring, almost intoxicating. Even when I turned to watch the musicians play, I only saw Brian and his eyes and felt his presence by my side. After the songs, the musicians were invited inside for drinks of rum and sorrel and ginger beer, and then departed, strumming their guitars and cuatros and singing their way downhill. I shall always remember the faraway sound of the serenaders and the presence of Brian Perron beside me. I shall always remember how happy I was that night when I realized that I loved him.
Can I stop you right there, David?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Your grandmother has a real gift for writing. So visual, so tremendously emotional. And I'm really impressed. Do we have any questions or comments from the audience in the room? Go ahead, Julian.
Wonderful job of reading. The intense eyes drew me in right away because he's going along with whatever is going on in that book, and it helps to draw in participants like me.
Oh,
Absolutely.
good. Thank you for saying so.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for David? Go ahead, Luba.
I was just wondering when your grandmother started writing, or had she been writing her whole life?
Yeah, I think she had been writing for a long time. Some of the first publications that I have access to were published in it was the newspaper that was put out in Montreal where she went to school, and so that was in the 19 teens. So I think she was in her late teens, early 20s, and I'd have to ask. My mom is on the call too, so she would know better than me. But yeah, I think that she's been writing for a long time.
So when did she begin writing this particular book, David? Do you know?
Yeah, it was in the 1970s, and it was completed in 79, I believe.
Okay.
So she was in her 50s when she was writing this one.
Fantastic. It's not too late for some of us then. That's great.
No.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions for David?
Davy, do you want to tell the story of, I can see the painting behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cover art, isn't it, David?
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed this before, but this painting behind me was painted by my uncle, my late uncle, and it became the cover of the book. So it was my mom, who was just speaking, Gail, me, my uncle Ken, and Barbara, and then everyone else who was helping. It really became quite a fantastic family project.
Absolutely.
I'm just so honored to have been a part of that.
Absolutely, that's spectacular. I'm so pleased that your family has come together to create this family legacy. It's such a great thing, and I hope that you're going to publish more of her works. Is that in the works to move forward?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, please let us know. And once COVID goes away and I get back into the CNM TV studios, we will be more than happy to have you come in and do a live show.
Great. Yeah, that would be excellent.
All righty. Thank you so much for everybody's indulgence and understanding and for coming today to support David and his grandmother's work. We appreciate it. Again, this has been the see, I'm all messed up now. So we were just reading from Barbara Mahase Rodman's work for our 2020 virtual book festival. And again, thank you so much everybody for coming. And if you want to know more about what we're doing, just check us out on Facebook or at pagespromotions.com. Thank you everybody for coming.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.